Hi all. So we were discussing this problem and we were halfway done. I gave you the intuition behind the problem and explained the solution. And some of the parts of the problem were left as homework. I mean, how to calculate some of the terms and how to compile the entire thing into one single piece of code. That was left. Guys, am I audible? Can you acknowledge in the chat box? Okay, great. Thanks, Santosh. Hmm. Okay, so yeah, we'll start the discussion of the problem again. So I'll briefly tell you the problem statement and the solution where we were at, and then I'll write the code along with you so that you don't have any doubt in this problem. Okay. So the okay, let's leave the statement. I'll directly jump to the problem here. So what we have here, we have a grid. We have a grid of R rows and C columns. Okay, like this, and we had to calculate the number of L shapes in this grid, right? So this was the problem. We have to calculate the number of L shapes in this grid. So what does so they gave us the notion that what L shapes actually are, and an L shape in a grid is actually a figure in which like ones are arranged in an L shape. Okay, ones should be arranged in an L shape like this. So we should have ones like this, and the length of the shorter segment should be exactly half the length of the longer segment. This was their constraint. Okay, so the only constraint was the length of shorter segment should be exactly half the length of the longer segment. Okay, so this was one of the L shapes, and we saw some of the motivation how to solve the problem, and yeah, we were at a solution. So we told that we will take any point I comma j, any cell I comma j as the joining point, as the common point of these two segments. So this is my shorter segment, this is my longer segment. Okay, every L shape will have a shorter segment and a longer segment, and we said that the intersection of the shorter and the longer segment is the cell which we are at currently. Okay, so every cell we will take, and this cell is, if this cell is the common cell, if this cell is the common cell, which means this cell is the intersection of the shorter and the longer segment, then how many L shapes are created due to this common cell? This is what we are going to calculate, right? This was our target. Yeah. T, L, R and B of every cell I comma j. We wanted to calculate these four values for every cell I comma j, and what Tij denoted? Tij denoted the number of cells which are contiguously one from the top, in the top of this cell I comma j, including this cell I comma j, right? And what was L I comma j? The number of contiguous ones in the left of this cell, including this cell. Similarly, R and B. So this was our current target, that how to calculate these four things for every cell. And for this I told you that we will use some modification of prefix sum. I mean some fundas from prefix sum we will use, and we will try to calculate this. How to calculate this array basically. So firstly, let me give you an example. We will take the example from the problem statement only, okay? So this is the example. Let's say, okay, let's take this second example. Okay, I'll write this in the whiteboard. So the array is like this: 1 0 0 0 1 0 0 1 1 0 0 1 0 0 1 and 4 ones and 1 0 1 0. And then finally 1 1 1 0. Okay, so this is the array given to us in the question. What do we want? We want this to be converted into for every cell we want four values: T, L, R and B. So what is the T, L, R and B values of this cell? Its T value, T of 1 comma 1. Okay, so I am using one indexing for now. This is my indices 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 6. I am using one indexing. So what is the value of T 1 comma 1? T1 comma 1 denotes the number of ones, the number of contiguous ones in the top of I comma j, including I comma j. So it is definitely 1, right? Because we have nothing in the top of it, and this cell itself is 1, so its T values is 1. What is the T value of 1 comma 2? T value of this cell will be 0, because if the cell itself is 0, its all its values will be 0, T, L, R and B, because we have to include this cell as well in the definition, right? So this is how we want to calculate the T values of all the cells, L values of all the cells, R values of all the cells, and B values of all the cells, right? So the T matrix T, so T, L, R, B, these four themselves will be matrices of the same size R comma C. And each one of the Tij will denote this thing which we discussed yesterday. Okay, the number of contiguous ones in the top of I comma j, including I comma j. This is what we want to calculate, and we want to do it intelligently. Okay, we want to do one pass of the entire matrix, and we want to calculate the T, L, R and B values. Fine. So is it clear till now? If you have watched my yesterday's video as well, this will be clear. Write in the chat box if some of you are from the yesterday's videos as well. I mean, if you have watched it. Okay, so we don't have sufficient live audience, but yeah, I guess people will watch this video recorded, so I have to continue anyways. So cool. What we discussed was that T value of any cell will be T value of the cell above it plus 1 if this cell is 1. This is what we discussed. The recursive definition which we created was Tij will be Tij. This is what we discussed yesterday. Okay, so the T value is what? The number of contiguous ones in the top. So what is the number of contiguous ones here? It is the number of contiguous ones here in the top of this cell plus 1, because this cell itself is 1. So the T value here is 2, because including this cell we have 2 ones, 2 contiguous ones. So the T value here is 2. So the T value here must be 3. Right? So this is what we discussed. I hope this is clear now. Okay. And similarly for L, we discussed that Lij will be like this, the same thing. L of I comma j minus 1 plus 1 if the grid value at I comma j is 1 or 0 otherwise. Okay, this is what we discussed, because the L value of this cell will be L value of this cell plus 1, because this cell is 1 itself, and the L value of this cell is 2, so the L value of this cell will be 3. So we will make one pass of this array like this in this direction. Okay, row major order. We will make one pass of the matrix like this, and we will update t values and n values, because anytime we are at any cell, its left value and top value will be updated. So if we pass the matrix like this, we can update all its t and l values, but we cannot update r and b values, because r value depend on the value of r in the right. If we are passing this matrix like this in the order which I told you here, we will not get the r and b values, right? Because r value will depend on the r value in the right. So r value of this cell, r value of this cell is r value of this cell plus 1. So r value of any cell depends on the value in its right. So we cannot pass this array like this. What instead, we have to pass this array like this. Okay, from the bottom to top and from right to left, so that now we can update b and r values. Because if we traverse this matrix like this, at any cell when we go, its right and bottom value will always already be processed, right? When I am at this cell, its bottom, we don't have any bottom, but its right value will be processed. So its r value will be r value in the right plus 1, and its b value will be its b value in the bottom plus 1, right? So we will make two passes, one from the top left corner and one from the bottom right corner. In the first pass, we will be updating the t and l values. In the second pass, we will be updating r and b values. Okay, so this is how we are going to create these four matrices t, l, r and b. And so I'll give you one trick in this lecture. So what happens is, while you are updating t, l, r, b values, this is what formulation we have, right? And this value is not defined for I equal to 0. If you are using 0 indexing, this value won't be defined for I equal to 0. Then you will have to write a separate case, right? I mean, what we are trying to say is, if this is my R cross C matrix, if this is my R cross C matrix for T, this is my T matrix, okay? And I am saying that T value of any cell is depending on the T value of its top, and L value of any cell is depending on the L value in its left. Okay, and this is how T matrix or L matrix looks like. And if this is my B matrix, the B value of any cell will be depending on the B value in its bottom, and R, if this is R matrix, R value of any cell will be depending on the R value in the right of this cell. But actually we have to check some conditions. For example, R value of this cell doesn't exist. Actually, if it is 1, then the R value will be 1, otherwise R value will be 0, right? So you have to write a condition that if this cell is at the last column, then we don't have any right? Do you agree that initially if you are using a 0 indexed array of size R cross C, you will have to write many conditions. For top, you have to write different condition in top matrix, that if you are in 0th row, then you don't have anything in the top. So you anytime if you are a competitive programmer, this is where you might get stuck once. The border cases in a matrix. Okay, if a value is dependent on its left, you don't have any left, then you have to hard code for that. If a value on the top is dependent on its top, then we don't have any top, then we have to hard code, right? So we have to handle many conditions. So what I prefer is, if let's say in this cell the R value and B value will have conditions, in this cell the top value and left value will have conditions. So just extend the size of the matrix. What I will do is, I'll extend the size of this matrix, that the T, L, B and R matrices. Now they are R plus 2 cross C plus 2 matrices. So the 0th row and 0th column is not useful. They will be filled with all zeros. all these boundaries will be filled with all zeros. So 0th row and 0th column is not useful, and r plus 1th column, c plus 1th column and r plus 1th row is also not useful, but they contain zeros. So now I don't have to mention the condition. Okay, now I don't have to write the condition. This is very useful. I don't have to write the condition. So our useful matrix will be this, 1 indexed. What is our useful matrix now? T of 1 to C, 1 to R. L of 1 to R, 1 to C. Okay, our useful content is present in from 1 to R and 1 to C. That's it. And the 0th row, 0th column, R plus 1th row, R plus C plus 1th column are not useful for us. They will contain all zeros, but if we add them, we don't have to write any condition. We can go with our normal definition that the t value of this cell will be the t value above it plus 1 if this cell is 1, because the t value above it is anyway 0. Do you understand what I am trying to say here? So this will be useful in many prefix sum problems. Okay, previously when we solved a prefix sum problem, there also I did this thing. I extended the size of the matrix, so my useful matrix is from 1 to R and 1 to C, now 1 indexed. Okay, I have forcefully made this problem 1 indexed so that the boundaries are all containing zeros, so that I don't have to write conditions on my own. Do you agree? I mean, are you understanding what I'm trying to say here? Yeah, we are taking up extra space, but this extra space is not very much. I mean, 4 times the size of one row. Anyways, we are having R square cells. I mean, it doesn't matter if I increase the size by 2, the number of rows and number of columns, right? I'm not taking too much extra space, but I am trying to prevent the, I'm trying to reduce the size of the code and my efforts. Okay, I'll move forward. So we don't have any live audience today. I guess because of college timings and everything. Okay, Mr. A, it will increase time complexity by very little bit. Okay, I mean, you are traversing it. I mean, how much it will increase time complexity? If the initial time, so let's say the total number of rows was, the maximum number of rows was n, and the maximum number of columns is n. Initially, if your algorithm is n square, which means entire pass of the matrix, now what are you doing? Now you are doing n plus 1 into n plus 1. You are just increasing one row, one column. It won't affect very much. What you will have is 1000 cross 1000 matrix, right? You have 1000 rows and 1000 columns. So the difference between 1001 cross 1001 and 1000 cross 1000 is not very much. You can afford this. We are not increasing 1000 rows or 1000 columns, right? We are just increasing one row and one column. It won't affect the time complexity in order sense. Okay, cool. So what we will do is, we will make the entire problem one indexed. The grid, the top matrix, the bottom matrix, the right matrix, the left matrix, everything one indexed, and everything of size R plus 1 cross C plus 1. Okay, so that we don't have to worry about things. Okay, so let me see the input. The first line of each test case contains 2 integers R and C, and then we have the matrix R lines and each of them containing C integers representing the cells of the grid. Okay, so we have 2 integers R and C. We will input them. So now we should create the vector. I am creating the matrix grid. So here, how many data structures do we have? We have a grid of size R cross C. I will make it R plus 1 cross R plus 2 cross C plus indexed, so that it is easy for me. I will make it one indexed, and then I will create 4 more matrices T, R, L and B. Those will be useful later. And what is the size of these matrices? Again, R plus 2 cross C plus 2. Okay, so now matrices will be created using vectors. We want to create vector of vector. Okay, but now there is a problem. Okay, how to initialize a vector? I mean, so we have seen this thing. If I have to create a vector of n integers, I do this thing. If I am passing one variable in the constructor, it means this is the size, or I can pass n comma 0. So all these n values will be initialized with 0. If I am passing one value, it is the size. If I am passing two values, it is size comma value. But when I want vector of vector, this is my grid, this is my matrix now. This is vector of vector, which means we have a vector of let's say 0th element of the vector, first element of the vector, second element of the vector, and so on. And every element of this vector is a vector itself. So this acts as a matrix like, and this is my matrix G. So now how to write its size? So if I just write the size, like let's say R, so this will be my number of rows. Okay, the size of the bigger vector. So this will be my like 0 to R minus 1. These many rows I have. But we have not given the size of the column. Okay, here we have to initialize this vector as well. So this might be a little bit difficult, but this you have to understand only once. Okay, how to initialize a matrix in the form of vector of size R cross C. This is what I'm trying to explain. Okay, so I'll again go slowly. When I write this thing, vector of integers A, this creates an empty vector of size 0. When I write this thing, vector of integers A, and use the constructor and I pass n, this means I want to create a vector A of size n, of n integers. Okay, it will reserve this much space. I can directly use now A of 0, A of 1. Okay, when I use this thing, vector of integer A n comma k. So what does it do? This syntax, this constructor contains two variables, two parameters. First denotes the size of the vector, second denotes the value through which we want to initialize. Okay, with this we have seen in vector lecture in STL. Now what we want? Now we want to create a matrix. This was for arrays. Okay, remember this thing. This was for arrays. Now I want to create a matrix. What is a matrix? It is a vector of vector. Okay, Ayush, great. So now we want to create a vector of vector. A small mistake is there. Okay. So this is my matrix, the dimension, which means this denotes that I have a vector of vectors, and let's say the name of this matrix is G, the grid. Okay, so the first so this is the size of the original vector because it contains R rows. It contains R rows, right? And now we have to initialize each of these rows with a vector. Each of these rows should be initialized with a vector. So I will again write vector of integers. This is for initializing. Okay, so Ayush has written m here. This means we have to initialize each row with a vector of integers whose name is m. But actually we have to write the size as well, right? We have to initialize each row with a vector of integers of size c, which means now we have R vectors. Each vector is we have R elements in a vector. Each element itself is a vector of size c. So this is the entire grid of size R cross c. We can remove this m. Actually, we can remove this m. So just remember the syntax from now on. So since we, for vector of integer, we are anyways using our hash define. Okay, we have created our macro vi for vector of integer. So how are we going to write this? Vector of integers G of R rows initialized with a vector of integers of size c. Vector of integers named G initialized with R rows, each of them containing a vector of integer of size c. This is my grid of size R cross c. Now I can address any element of this grid. Okay, you might feel that this is harder than arrays. I mean, why are we learning this? Why are we learning vector? Trust me, I mean, your life will be very easy when you understand, once you understand this, okay? Actually, passing 3D, 4D vectors is very easy. Learning this syntax will take one time effort. Now, for me it is easy. For you also it will be easy when once you use it 2-3 times, okay? And you can check any programmer's code and any top programmer's code, they will be using vectors only, okay? So no, not all of them are fools, right? This is not very difficult, you'll get used to it, okay? And this is not. So now I want to have zeros anyways. So I mean the top row, the bottommost row and the top first column and the last column will contain all zeros. It is just to create that each containing a vector of integers containing c plus 2 elements initialized with zeros, right? And the same size, which means tr just a second. Okay, so we have 5 matrices, one the original grid and the remaining 4 representing the t values, l value, rows plus 2 times maximum column plus 2. This is allowed. I mean, this plus 2 is negligible in front of this 1000, right? R can be up to 1000. So this is 5 times 10 to the power 3, 5 times 10 to the power 7 is allowed. Okay, I'll move forward. So we will try to I'll move forward. So we will try to create these matrices. Okay, we'll try to fill these matrices now. So I should have a loop. So now I created a macro for int I is equal to 1, I is less than r plus 1, I plus plus. This means we are iterating from 1 to r. Because so firstly I'll input the grid value. It's t and l. Since we are filling the matrix like this, we discussed it here. Since we are filling the matrix like this, we are filling it like this because the values are inputting like this, right? And we will be updating the top and left as well at the grid, but from the bottom right corner. Okay, what is the expression we have? I'll come to the expression. So that, yeah, this is the expression we have. So I'll just check. See that already check the condition, border cases. Now I have this thing and this thing will help me. This thing will reduce my code drastically. Okay, j is equal to 1. My tij will be t I minus 1, j will be l ith row and j minus 1th column plus 1. Okay, this is okay. So for r and b values I have one more for loop. I have defined one more for loop, okay, which is decrement for int I is equal to a minus 1, I greater than equal to b, I minus minus. So there is so you can create it on your own. I mean, this is what I am comfortable with. This will happen, the smaller value which is present at the second index is included, but the larger value is not included. I mean, don't get confused. Our for loop should be from so I'll write this for I from c plus 1, sorry, r plus 1 to 1. For this is my decrementing for loop. If again here, if g okay, I'll copy these lines. Here I don't have to input the grid again. Okay, my r and guys, I hope this is clear. Okay, this is not very difficult. Okay, we have just line 4, 5, I mean 8 lines of code, and we have created our t. So I guess now it is working. Please acknowledge in the chat box if I am audible. Okay, my OBS disconnected because of some reasons. Acknowledge in the chat box, guys. Am I audible? Okay, great. So we have updated our T, L, B and R values, okay? And see, so the magic of just adding one row, one column, I don't have to worry about any condition, okay? I mean, we have one extra row, nothing will ever overflow or underflow, okay? So now I want to calculate the number of L shapes. So the number of L shapes, I'll just revise it again. So what happened was, for any cell as the centerpiece, this is the top, this is the right, this is the bottom, and this is the left. This we have seen, okay? And we saw that any L shape is represented using the shorter segment and the longer segment. Any L shape is represented using the shorter segment or the longer segment. The length of the shorter segment should be exactly half the length of the longer segment. This we have seen. We have seen that for any I comma j, as the joining, as the centerpiece, which is joining both the segments, okay, as the common piece, okay, if I comma j is the common cell, then we can have multiple L shapes because of I comma j as the common cell. We can have its top, some of the segment in the top as the shorter segment, and in the right as the longer segment. I mean, if its t values is let's say 5 and its r value is 10, we can take two from the top and 4 cells from the right, and this will be a L shape. And then 3 cells from the top and 6 cells from the right, this will be L shape. And 4 cells from the top and 8 cells from the right, this will be L shape. And 5 comma 10. We have seen that there will be 4 L shapes with shorter segment from the top and longer segment from the right. And then we will have some L shapes with shorter segment from the right and longer segment from the top. So we saw that, yeah, 4 comma 2 will be one such L shape, where 4 is taken from the top and 2 is taken from the right. And the length of any segment should be at least 2. This is mentioned, okay? Length cannot be 1 because it will just contain the centerpiece. Then it will not be L shape, it will be I shape. Okay, so this is one possible L shape with this format, where shorter segment is from the right and longer segment is from the top. So we have 8 such configurations: t comma r, r comma t comma l, l comma t, b comma r, r comma b, and b comma l, l comma b. Right? We have 8 such configurations. And how many L shapes exist at I comma j with this configuration? This we have seen. The expression to this we have seen. It was minimum of the t value Tij minus 1 and Rij by 2 minus 1. Right? Because the shorter segment can offer these many L shapes. If the shorter segment length is 5, the at most 5, then it can offer 4 L shapes. One with the length, shorter length 2, 3, 4 and 5. 1 is not possible. So length minus 1. And the length of longer segment should be first divided by 2 to get the length of the shorter segment. So if the length of longer segment is at max, let's say 11, it cannot offer 11 L shapes, right? It will first it has to be divided by 5. So 5. And also 1 has to be subtracted because the shorter segment cannot be of length 1. Okay, so this we saw yesterday. You can watch yesterday's video if you want to see the logic behind this. We discussed this in detail. And there is one problem with this. Actually, this might be negative. If Tij is 0 and Rij is 0, which means if this cell is 0, if this cell is containing 0, then both these values will be 0. And minimum of minus 1 and minus 1 will be taken as minus 1. We don't want to add minus 1, okay? Number of L shapes cannot be minus 1. 0 has to be added in this case. So we'll take the maximum of this and 0. We don't want this to be negative. It should be at least 0, okay? This value or 0. If this is going to be negative, take 0. So what do we want? So let's say our total number of L shapes is 0, initially 0. We will write some logic blah blah here, and at the end we will just print the value of the number of L shapes. This is our target goal. And now let's write this blah blah. So we'll iterate over the all the cells 1 to R. Remember, our useful matrix is from 1 to R and 1 to C. Okay, this is my useful matrix, and in the entire useful matrix, what we will do, we will write these 8 conditions. So this count should be added to the total number of L shapes. All these counts should be added actually. This value, this value, this value, this value, all these 8 values should be added to the total number of L shapes, which is my ls, the variable ls. So I'll add 8 things here. So I'll write maximum of 0 and this value, so that it never gets negative. If it gets negative, this maximum will take 0. If this value gets negative, this maximum will take 0. And what is this value? Minimum of Tij minus 1 and Rij by 2 minus 1. Okay, so this is not very difficult. If you are thinking the logic on your own, you will be able to write this in 2 minutes. Trust me, okay. So I am adding this particular term to the total number of L shapes. Are some of you getting this? If you are getting, 50% of this, let me in the chat box. That this is what we discussed yesterday. If you don't understand this, then I'll suggest you to watch yesterday's video, okay? This term. But there is a problem with this term, that this can be minus 1. So if this is minus 1, I want to add 0 only, okay? I don't want this to be negative. So this is the number of L shapes with the common cell as I comma j, and taking the shorter segment from top and the longer segment from right. Guys, let me know in the chat box. And every time this happens, when I solve the second problem of Kickstart, not many people are involved, and I understand this thing. And so today is the last second problem, which is today 8:30 p.m., which I am solving. For 1 month, I'll stick to the first problem of Kickstart only, okay? For the coming month, so that once we finish the data structure and algorithm, we can take these problems involving dynamic programming and the advanced topics, okay? I just did this second problem because there are some people who have the required background for these problems, and since Kickstart is coming, we want to do some practice, solve some of the second problems, okay? Don't worry, okay? If you're not able to get it, don't worry. So we should write add 8 such terms, and t comma r comma t, and t comma l comma t, and b comma r comma b, and b comma l comma b. All such possible L shapes we are adding. Okay, so that's it, guys. That's it. This is the entire program. Okay, it is not very big. The solve function is, it is repeating itself. Essentially, we are writing this is entire repeated code. This is repeated code. The same thing repeated twice, and this is repeated code. Okay, we have to write 5-6 lines. Okay, just the problem was short, but yeah, the logical thinking was good in this problem. Okay, this was an excellent problem. We'll try to see that this is working or not. I'll run this code for the input given. Okay, so we are not getting the required output. We are having some mistake. I don't think there should be. So I'll have to debug it. TRLB and from 1 to r plus 1. Okay, here also we have to go from 1 to r plus 1. Okay, because it is one index, we have to see the rth row and cth column as well. So I guess this was a mistake. Okay, we are getting the required output 1 and 9 for these two test cases. On our ID, I'll run it on the Google's ID as well. So we'll go in the test run mode first. Okay, we are getting the desired output for these two cases. I'll submit the code now. Okay, so I understand since not many people of you are active in this lecture, I understand the problem. We have not covered the data structures. Now, since one more video is scheduled, the answer is correct, guys. And since one more video is scheduled for today 8:30 p.m., which will cover the plates problem, okay, which is the second problem of round A to 2020. So this is the last second problem we are gonna see. We will stick to first problem only for few days, so that yeah, many people can follow. Once we cover all the data structure and data structures course, DSA course, then we can take second, third problems as well. Okay. So the code to this problem was remaining, and I have given you the code. And I'll repeat again, you can go on the Unacademy app to see. So firstly, you can go on unacademy.com/@j.bansal to see my profile. And yeah, here you can find all the batches which I'm running currently. So I'll go to the normal mode. Okay, so this is my profile. You can see all the batches which I am teaching in GATE category or competitive programming category. And these are the special classes. These will be for free. You can watch them if you want. Here I have given a video on the importance of Kickstart as well. Okay, so this is a video all about online coding contest, ACM ICPC Code Jam. Here I told about Kickstart and Hashcode as well, all the Google contests. So here you can see the importance of Kickstart, and you can go on Kickstart, just search Kickstart and go on the official website to register. Okay, so the Kickstart is going to happen, the round C is going to happen in 3 days only. Till then we will be upsolving. I won't stop. I will upsolve one second problem, and then from tomorrow I'll upsolve first problems again. Okay. Yeah. And these are some of the other sessions. How you can you manage Gate and CP together, and my journey as well. So many lectures are there. If they ask for activation code, you can use my activation code JAYCP. Okay, so this is my activation code. This will give you 10% off on subscriptions if you want to take Gate or competitive programming, and this will activate the special classes for free for you, for any educator. Okay, if you want to see how the educators teach on Unacademy app and so on. So yeah, this is it, guys. Let's meet on 8:30 today, and I'll discuss one more problem, plates, which is round A, problem B of Kickstart 2020. Okay, and then at 9:30 we have usual DSA lecture 3. Okay, bye guys. Thank you.